Hello and good day, everyone. Thanks for joining MeteoMark's Weather here. I'm meteorologist Mark Molnar. We are looking at the potential for two areas of concern, one in the southwestern Gulf, as well as an area just off the southeast coast of the U.S. and the Bahamas here. Two areas in particular as we head throughout the week. We're going to be watching for potential tropical system development. Could either one of these systems become a tropical storm? And we'll also be looking beyond that as we have a big surge of tropical waves through the end of the month here. Let's get into it. And don't forget, if you haven't watched my Hurricane 2024 Outlook, link in the description down below and at the end of this video. Check it out to see what I think is going to happen this hurricane season. So we're starting off here with the European model. There's our area in the western, southwestern Gulf, up to a 60% chance through day 7, 30% chance through day 7 here off the southeast coast. So we got two areas we're going to be watching. Watch these high pressure systems as well. They're going to be steering our systems as we head throughout this week. Now, as we continue in time, you see that system over the Yucatan. It's starting to emerge by Monday here into the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. And that Bermuda high really starts to build towards the west here. You can see that's going to help steer this southeastern system just east of the Bahamas. It's on the tail end of a frontal boundary. That's what you have to watch this time of year. Now watch here into the western Caribbean and into the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. This is where we start to see that tropical system really take shape. Here is our two areas by the 18th here. So there it is here into the western Gulf, becoming better organized. And there is our system here just northeast of Puerto Rico, east of the Bahamas here. There's that high pressure building right into eastern North America, producing that tremendous heat wave. But as you can see here, as we head into the 19th, into the 20th, European model is taking this, into extreme South Texas and just north of Tampico, Mexico here. There is our system here north of the Bahamas. We're going to be watching that system steer in the direction of Florida, potentially Georgia and South Carolina. European model making landfall here with our system just north of Tampico and south of Brownsville, Texas. So that's a trend we'll have to continue to watch. Behind it, we're looking at a tropical wave, a pretty strong one here south of Jamaica. And there is our system off the southeast coast coming right in line with Jacksonville as we head through the 20th into the 21st, potentially developing maybe into a tropical storm by this point, just coming in between Jacksonville and Savannah here on the European model, and then eventually making landfall. Now, what happens here into the Caribbean and the Gulf after this? You can see our next system organizing here across the western part of the Caribbean, and then a big tropical wave approaching Trinidad, Tobago here, and another area just north of Puerto Rico. Look at the positioning of this high-pressure system by this point. This is going to be the common theme this hurricane season. Steering these systems due west, bringing them into the direction of land here, which is not great news. And then as we head through the 21st, later this week into next weekend, you can see another storm forming potentially here into the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, and another storm developing here just east of the Bahamas. So this is going to be very active weather time here. There it is. Two additional systems we'll need to watch. This one coming into the western Gulf of Mexico as well and intensifying. And then look at, here it is. This system could develop into quite something, potentially tropical storm as well. And then look at here. We're going to be watching these areas. Here's one area off the east coast, these tail ends of the front this time of year. That's what you really have to watch. And there's that system into the Gulf. The European model brings it up like this, but wanting to steer it in the direction of Louisiana. So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on here. High pressure is starting to retreat east of Bermuda, but look what's happening to our intertropical convergence zone. It's bouncing to the north. And as we head over to the GFS here, let's see how that aligns with the European model as we head into Monday. You can see, look at this system really pushing up here across the western part of the Gulf. So essentially, we have our system out here at the tail end of this frontal boundary. This is the one we'll be watching, heading towards either Florida, Georgia, or maybe even South Carolina. This system we're going to be watching here into the western Gulf as we go out in time. So pretty much all week. There it is, starting to develop, looking stronger here on the GFS model, as well as our storm just northeast of the Bahamas here. So we are going to be watching our two systems this week. Very heavy rain here in parts of Texas. It's actually making it much further north here into the Houston, San Antonio, Brownsville area and heading westward as we head to the 20th. Now look at our GFS model. It's actually showing that this high pressure system is going to be a little bit further to the south and stronger, pushing it into the Florida coast instead of like the European up towards Georgia and South Carolina. So that is a trend we're going to have to watch. We also have a tropical wave at this point just south of Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. Lots of rain here for Central America, beneficial rains, and intertropical convergence zone remaining pretty active out here. So as we continue to go out in time through the end of this week, there's the 20th into the 21st. The GFS actually brings this storm just across Florida, central Florida, through Tampa, and then eventually towards the panhandle of Florida by the 21st. So, at this point, it's still looking like some sort of tropical storm. And so this is a much further west solution. And then look at this, by the 22nd into the 23rd, GFS showing another area of development here in the western Gulf of Mexico. And look at this. Are we going to do a broken record all over again here? There is another system heading towards the Bahamas and Florida by the 25th. So we're watching two areas, one in the western and central Gulf and one east of the Bahamas. And then as we continue the last few frames here into the 26th, you can see we're dealing with the system right in the central Gulf of Mexico and east of the Bahamas. So this is something we'll have to monitor very closely. It looks like the tropics are going to be becoming very active, and there's the intertropical convergence zone really blossoming. One thing to note, by later this week, you can see the high pressure retreating all the way up here into the northern part of the Atlantic. The one thing to note, though, is this high pressure extends all the way into eastern North America. That's forcing all the systems up like this. So that should continue to force most of these tropical systems much further west. Sea surface temperature analysis just continues to get worse here. Look at even off the East Coast, New England here. Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean are like bathwater. Here's the MDR. We do see a little bit of cooler temperatures out by the Cape Verdes. This area is thanks to some Saharan dust, which will continue to be pretty thick out in this region. So as we go out here in time, we'll start off with the GFS model. There is all our moisture there, Western Caribbean, Eastern Gulf of Mexico. And as we go in time, you can essentially see here, we've got a tremendous amount of moisture surging here into the central and western Gulf as we head throughout Tuesday into Wednesday and into Thursday here. So essentially, Texas area, finally some dry air moving in here into Florida. However, there is our system, our potential system later this week that could become a tropical storm. That's going to be heading west. As we take a look at the European model here, look at that surge of moisture here into the central and western Gulf here all the way up to Louisiana. There's an area of dry air here with the Saharan dust heading westward, but there's our potential tropical disturbance, tropical wave, and that heads around this high pressure. See how this high pressure system to the north is building to the north of this, helping to push it right into the southeast coast towards Florida and Georgia. And there we go. As we continue in time, let's get that out of the way. You can see potential landfalling storms here into the western Gulf and then towards the southeast coast as we get into Thursday and into Friday. You can see the moisture from that pushing well into Georgia and South Carolina as high pressure is going to continue to dominate and push all of these systems further west. We have another system reloading over the Yucatan Peninsula by this time, and that starts to surge into the Gulf of Mexico by Monday, June 24th. So going into the rest of this week, look at that positive precipitation anomaly all the way up to the north central Gulf of Mexico. As we head deeper into June here, the third week of June, you can see what's going on here. Surge of tropical moisture continuing across the Gulf area, the Gulf Coast, and then here into the northeastern Caribbean islands. As we head into the last week of June, beginning of July, you can see we kind of get a little bit of a drying trend here into the Gulf, but still the Gulf Coast states getting surged with tropical moisture. And there's the intertropical convergence zone really starting to bounce to the north as we head out in time. Through about mid-July here, you can see lots of precipitation here across the Caribbean. And as we continue to the end of July, there it is. There is the trend. Surging tropical moisture into the Gulf and up the U.S. East Coast. And looking at the CANCIPS model for, here we go, June, you can see we're continuing to surge that tropical moisture in this general direction of the Gulf of Mexico. And as we continue through July, this just solidifies. This is really troubling, actually. You can see all across the MDR, all the way up through the East Coast and Gulf of Mexico, Central America, the Caribbean islands, getting surged into August as well, into September, October, and then into November. As I said before, we still could be seeing storms here into the Caribbean into December. Look at that. All right, so looking at our European model for rainfall amounts this week, heading through the middle part of the week, you can see that big surge of tropical moisture through Central America, the Yucatan, Belize, these areas. This is where we'll be seeing 80 to as much as 125 millimeters of rainfall. That's going to be a solid 3 to as much as 5.5 inches of rain. Over here in the Bahamas, you kind of got a rain shadow going on, not too much rain. Jamaica, you're going to be right on the edge, as well as Cayman Islands. Could see upwards of 30 to 50 millimeters, right around that 3/4 to 1 inch level. As we go a little bit beyond here, you can see throughout the rest of the week, into next weekend, all the way through almost the end of the month through the 26th here, we're just going to see one tropical wave and disturbance after another here into the Western Caribbean. Look at that rain shadow here. We'll really start to pick things up here in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti, and eventually Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. I think you'll get on the act as well. As we head to the Eastern Caribbean here, there it is. As we head through the rest of into the 4th week, Northern Caribbean islands the most. Down here in Trinidad and Tobago, you will see, a surge of tropical moisture upwards of 70, 80, 90 millimeters. Not out of the question. You could get, anywhere from 2.5, 3 inches, close to 4 inches. So for the rest of your Sunday evening into Sunday night, severe thunderstorms will be a thing up here into the northern Midwest and the Western Plains. In that yellow shaded area is the greatest risk, where you have that slight risk of severe thunderstorms. And then as we head into your Monday, that area shifts further north into the Dakotas, Minnesota, and parts of north central Nebraska, where you have that slight risk. And that area slowly moving to the east as we get into your Tuesday. Much of eastern and southern Minnesota, northwestern Wisconsin, and northwestern part of Iowa. And before we dive into your weather here across North America, I just want to say happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I hope you're having a great and fantastic Sunday. So heading through the rest of your Sunday evening and Sunday night, you can see, the big story is going to be the Gulf of Mexico down here. Look at all this tropical moisture finally drying out here overnight across parts of Florida, but look at that up towards Alabama and Louisiana. You're going to be looking at continued showers and thunderstorms as we head through Monday morning at 9 a.m. This is where you're going to start to see a lion's share of the rain. Southern Louisiana and southeast Texas here, and extreme south Texas as well. Watch this as we go out here in time. By 5 p.m. Monday, you can see those streaming showers and outer bands of what could be our, potentially first tropical system. We also have the area off the southeast coast we'll be watching later on in the week. But look at that. It looks like feeder bands really setting up by 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning. Look at getting all the way into the Houston and New Orleans area, Baton Rouge. Watch out. Heavy rains heading your way. And look at out here east of the Bahamas. Let me just back it up just a little bit. We'll be watching this feature showing up right around 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning. Now, as we look at the rest of your weather here, a lot of this is over here into the Canadian border, which I'll show you momentarily with my Canadian outlook. But as we head overnight, look what's happening here. More showers and thunderstorms, even here into Michigan. Watch, some of these storms may contain damaging wind, large hail. Those staying mostly north of Ohio. Look at all this activity out here by 9 a.m. on Monday morning. That translates into, look at this, we have a few pop-up showers and thunderstorms here by 3 p.m. on Monday into parts of the Ohio Valley, western New York. These might actually help cool you off a little bit, but the areas that do not get those pop-up showers and thunderstorms will be well into the mid and approaching upper 90s. By 10 p.m. on Monday evening, the saying, never trust these warm fronts that are pushing to the northeast like this. Some of these could promote some showers and thunderstorms, even into the overnight hours, but most areas will be rain-free and plenty of heat and humidity. But look at this by Tuesday morning. We could look at a stray shower or thunderstorm here in upstate New York and south central Ohio. And I want to bring your attention up here into parts of southern Ontario. southwestern Ontario. Look at these severe thunderstorms that are moving northward. I'm going to be covering this momentarily in my Canadian weather outlook. All right, so our GFS model, there it is pretty much all week. We're showing that area of high pressure dominating the east. That should help steer our systems, further west here, Western Gulf, and then off the southeast coast. I'm kind of splitting the difference between the Euro and the GFS. So still Florida, Georgia, and extreme South Carolina here going to be looking at the potential for this tropical system. And look at here, this high pressure, it's going to keep that ring of fire well up to the north here. So that's pushing the systems all the way up northward into the upper Midwest here. And as we continue to go out here in time, you can see most of the active weather, even as we head Thursday and Friday, is going to remain well north. Although we could see some activity here into the Ohio Valley into the northeast. Any one of these storms could be severe with damaging wind, large hail. And we get that frontal boundary moving through next Sunday. This could be a big deal here across parts of the northeast and southeast Canada. Severe weather potential. So let me just back that up. Yeah, next weekend could be pretty stormy here across the Ohio Valley into the northeast. And then we're just going to continue to pile on these systems. Watch the Gulf Coast because we're just going to keep piling these tropical systems on, and our next storm ready to eject out here into the northern plains. And as we continue in time, there is one piece of good news here. It looks like a frontal boundary will be making it pretty far south here in Texas and into the northeast. So this may actually help bring an end to our heat after a week and a half here towards the 26th. And as we continue to go out here in time, our last few frames, you can see, yeah, there's that trailing cold front. Will that be enough to pick these systems up and off the coast? Well, we'll have to wait and see. All right, so the European model here, we're showing that high pressure here in the east is pretty dominant at this point. You can see as we head throughout the week, tropical moisture does try to make it up here into the Mississippi River Valley and the southern plains of Texas here. But the big story is going to continue to be the tropics, our entity here into the Gulf and off the Bahamas and Florida and Georgia here. So as we continue to go out here in time to the 21st and to the 22nd, you do start to see evidence. There is that surge of moisture, the European model bringing that storm system right here into parts of Georgia and South Carolina. So this is right in the time frame of the 20th, heading into Thursday, into the 21st. So that would bring the eastern part of the system up through Georgia and South Carolina. High pressure at this point pushing it up towards the southern Appalachians. And then as you can see here into the Midwest, another storm system, this ring of fire around here, could promote some showers and stronger thunderstorms here through Friday and Saturday. And look at that here across the northern plains. We could be looking at that severe weather push into Canada, which I'll cover in my Canadian weather outlook momentarily. But look at next weekend, especially Sunday into Monday, we could have a pretty strong squall line move through parts of the Ohio Valley into the northeast, as this could be the big heat breaker. The European model is much more progressive on this, but you see look down here in the Gulf. That's where the activity is going to be. And will this storm system pick up any of these storms? It remains to be seen. It is quite possible. This could be the thing that helps propel, there it is, our system maybe towards the northeast and our southeast system as well during this time. Precipitation amounts here, that is going to be the big story from the Midwest all the way down towards the Gulf Coast. Look at this. So we got two areas in the tropics we're going to be watching. You can see that first area across South Texas and Louisiana, and the second area here across Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. As we head into next weekend, you can see into the following week. This is going to be the bullseye. This week, you can see Gulf Coast areas getting 4 to 8 plus inches and up to 2.5 to as much as 5 inches here in parts of eastern and northeastern Georgia, South Carolina, and extreme northeastern Florida. This is all going to be with some strong to severe thunderstorms across the Midwest, where we could see 4 to 7 inches of rain. And looking over at the GFS model, you can see very similar picture here. The only differences is in the tropics. The same area up here in the Midwest with severe weather, but look at inundation here in South Texas, 4 to as much as 10 plus inches of rain with that potential storm. And then the GFS takes our tropical system here off the southeast coast right into central Florida instead. So getting upwards of 2 to maybe 5 inches. So as we continue on with the upper air pattern here, the European model showing that massive super ridge here continuing throughout the week through midweek and all the way through the end of the week as well. You can see across eastern North America, this is what's going to be steering all of our systems in the tropics well westward here into much of the Caribbean and Gulf and Southeast coast. And as you can see here, storminess continues here into the Caribbean and the Gulf. And out west, we got a little bit of a trough developing. Now, let's pick up where the European left off. As we head through the rest of the month, you can see we do get a little bit of storminess across the northern tier, but that ridge hanging tough here across the east. Look at that. It just rebuilds here for July 4th as we head into July 4th and the long weekend. If you've got one here, look at that surge of, I don't know. It seems like we're trending much more ridge here in the east. That's going to continue to dominate and help steer all those tropical systems westward. So for your Canadian weather outlook, here we go. We're looking at that big storm pinwheeling here across Manitoba. Southeast Canada starts off really nice, but watch out. Let me just scroll out here. High pressure dominating Southeast Canada, but here it is, the central part of Canada into Ontario. Yeah, look at this. That storm moving up towards Hudson Bay. That's going to drag a cold front here through the eastern provinces, and that could get off some stronger showers and thunderstorms by the time Wednesday and Thursday rolls around. You can see southern Quebec there, stronger thunderstorms. But the great news is an area of high pressure builds into eastern Canada and northern Canada. Our next system here in the plains, we're going to be watching for the possibility of some stronger thunderstorms. So watch out for that as that pushes towards western Ontario and Quebec by the 22nd into the 23rd. You can see that is going to be the region all the way into New Brunswick. We could be looking at stronger thunderstorms and a squall line moving through on the 24th into the 25th, putting a break to that heat. And our next system ejecting out from the Canadian Rockies into the plains towards Saskatchewan. So looking at Canada's precipitation outlook here, it's actually looking pretty dry here in Southeast Canada. It's actually the central part of Canada where we're going to see the most activity continue to ensue as we head through the end of the month. You can see finally Eastern Canada getting in on the act as some of the storm track heads up and over this Bermuda high. Not out of the question, some areas could see 80 to as much as 125 millimeters of rainfall. That's getting upwards of 3 to as much as 6 inches. And as we head out into the Western Pacific, I actually really don't have a whole lot to talk about here. Yes, it's your monsoon season from Southeast Asia, Thailand, Vietnam, all the way up through Eastern China, the Northern Philippines, and then Japan. Japan just getting done with the system here by midweek. But look at this. As we continue in time, none of these systems out in the intertropical convergence zones, so any chances of development. Look at the Philippines, though. You're in the midst of a tremendous monsoon, so that's some good news. It'll help cool things off, but for the most part, look at this. We really don't have a lot to talk about other than monsoon moisture. And as we look to the Eastern Pacific this week, especially as we head towards Wednesday and Thursday, we have about a 20% chance. The main thing with this storm south of Guatemala and El Salvador, it will be producing some beneficial rains as we head out in time here. Look at that, heading towards the west, eventually towards Acapulco here. But a lot of this moisture is also going to entrain into the Western Gulf. I got plenty more weather for you in just a moment, but take a look at my affiliate. Do you want some awesome maps? Check this out. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. And as we go through the next several days here, the temperatures are going to be the big story. Look at this, mid to upper 90s across the Midwest into parts of the Northeast. That heat just building as we go throughout the week. Look at Tuesday. Some of these readings in the Northeast, look at that. Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, 98 degrees. Pittsburgh, 99. This is insane amount of heat here as we head into Wednesday. That heat just builds here across the East. Look at Albany, New York, 100. 99 there in Pittsburgh, 92 in Cleveland, 96 right there near Columbus, Ohio. So this just continues to get worse throughout the week. Look at here into the Northeast, 100s, upper 90s to low 100s here into the Northeast, into the Ohio Valley as well. And into Friday, we see a little bit of evidence we might see some temperatures cooling down into the 80s here into northern New England. But look at this. Yeah, a little bit of a cool down by Saturday, but we're still looking at tremendous amount of 90 to 95 degree temperatures here, some upper 90s. Extended forecast for my hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton's upper Susquehanna region of New York and Pennsylvania. Look at this, Monday through Friday here, we're looking at a scorcher pretty much every day. By Tuesday into Wednesday and Thursday, we'll be seeing highs into the upper 90s, those heat index values approaching 100 to 105 degrees with the heat and humidity. We don't see a chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon until about Friday. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.